Hey everybody, John Peck here. So most of you don't know that I used to be a hairstylist years ago, but during this time of quarantine, I've had some family ask me if I could show them how to cut a little boy's hair. So I'm gonna cut my little son Connor's hair and hope you enjoy. Okay, so we're gonna cut Connor's hair today.
Connor, say hi.
One thing that helps when cutting a child's hair is to let them watch the television, because then they have something to do and they sit still a little better, or a lot better. So the minimum tools that I think that you'll need for this kind of a job is you'll need some hair cutting shears, a comb, a towel, and a water bottle, sort of. Depending on what you want to do, you can also use clippers or a guard. I'll show you what to do with all of these things in case you want to do it one way or the other. So the first thing that we'll want to do is if you're going to be cutting the hair with the shears, you want to get the hair wet. Since we're not at a salon where we can wash the hair and get it all wet, we've got to spray it down. So I'm going to spray Connor's hair. I'm going to put the towel here so that water doesn't get all over his neck and get uncomfortable. And I'm just going to spray the part that I'm using, that I'm going to cut right now. And what you want to do first is you spray it and then you comb it down so that the water can get through it. And if it's not enough water, you can add some more water. If it's fine, then it's fine. This looks like enough water to me. So what we're gonna do is there are two ways to cut this hair. He's a little bit lower, so the way I'm gonna do it is I'm going to pull the hair out, take a little section of it, pull the hair out, and hold it like this, away from his scalp. And I'm going to, you can either hold it this way or this way, it doesn't really matter, whichever way is more comfortable, and cut it. Now, one thing you want to make sure you are mindful of is when you are cutting, you want to not cut past this point. You don't want to cut down here, because it's a lot easier to cut this part of your finger, which I've done many times. And when you're holding it this way, and you are cutting hair this way, you want to be mindful of the same thing. You don't really want to pass that knuckle, otherwise you're gonna cut that part of your finger. Speaking of which, you might want to keep a couple Band-Aids handy if that happens. But yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of start in the middle or on the side, it doesn't matter. Today I'm starting in the middle, and I'm just going to cut and then go to the next little section right over. And this will all depend on how short you want their hair. I'm putting my fingers all the way against his head, and that makes each one of these cuts the same length. So sometimes when you do that, it's gonna, there are a little bit harder places to get to. And I mean, if something is sticking out like this right here, you can always just carefully go in and cut it off. And then I'm gonna start going around this direction. It can be helpful if they're looking down during this point, but if they're watching TV, then that can be problematic. So I'm not gonna have him do that right now. So what I'm doing is I'll lift it up, I'll cut, and then I comb it down to see how it looks. And then I'm gonna go all the way over to this part here. And then what I do is Erica, come over to this other side here. I'll turn him a little bit. This part's gonna start getting a little drier up here. So I'm going to get the water, give it another little spray. So we've cut from about here down to make it shorter. And you can go back in and make some changes. The other way to do it, if you want to scoot back, instead of leaning this way and holding it, you can also, I'm assuming everybody's right-handed, lean this direction. If it's easier for you to hold, to pick up the hair and cut on the top of your fingers, that way you're like this. You can also do that all the way down. Connor, I need you to look down just a little bit. But if you have a chair like this in the way, it can be difficult. That's why I went down in this direction. So, but up here, I'm going to come up here and I'm gonna find it's shorter here and longer here, and I'm gonna find that difference, and I'm going to use the comb to pick up the hair. Then I grab it in between my two fingers and make the cuts. And I'm gonna kind of just keep doing that and lift up the hair a little bit with the comb to see which pieces are still longer. See, there's this little piece down here that is like much longer right there. So I'm gonna comb it down. I'm just going to, I mean, this is kind of an advanced technique. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna use my comb and I'm gonna hold it with the comb, and I'm just gonna cut it like that. And Connor's hair comes to this little, Connor's hair does this. So most kids don't do that. But Connor, here, look straight ahead, Connor. I'm gonna just look straight ahead. There you go. I'm just gonna the bottom there. Okay, so then we repeat the process here on the sides of the hair.
Always cover their face with your hands before you spray them.
Yeah, I cover his face. I mean, you know, depends on how good they've been lately and stuff. So again, you can either hold it this way, or if you want to, you can hold it this way. Take that off now, since I'm not doing the bottom area, it's not wet. This area down here, I've always found is definitely easier. I pinch it, I grab it, and then I lift it up with the comb. Again, I'm gonna use the comb. You don't have to do it this way. If you want to just use your fingers, if you don't want to, if this is not comfortable for you. I'm gonna show you two different ways to do this. One with the comb, one with the clippers. But I'm gonna lift up the hair just a little bit with the comb and cut it. That way I can get it a little closer here. And the same thing, I'm going to pull his ear down and I'm going to lift up the hair with the comb. Be very carefully. I'm going to cut it. The other way to do this, if you want to try it, is to pull his ear down and the hair over the ear. gotta be really super careful. I've never cut anybody's ear, thankfully, but I imagine it's not very difficult to accidentally do that. And then, some people cut the top of their hair first and then the sides. I always just do the sides and the back first. And then I cut the top and then I'll blend the edges to make sure that it looks right. So I'm gonna just, he's not gonna, I'm gonna just quickly do this other side.
Connor. Connor. Say hi, Auntie, to the camera.
Hi, Auntie.
This side I'll show you how to do with the clippers a little bit, and then for the top, we spray it down. We spray our wife
Hey,
or husband.
Cheese. Hi.
So one thing we do not do is comb the hair straight down. We do not comb the hair straight down and cut it. We will move the wet hair out of their face. And you can start in the front, you can start in the back. I usually kind of start in the back because since I already did the back area. And I will lift it up to the desired length and give it a cut. For Connor's hair, I like to cut it a little bit shorter, so I will start by lifting up the hair and grasping it right at the base, and then I'll pull my fingers up away from it a little bit. If you really want to make sure that it's the same length everywhere, the way they taught us on a comb, on one side of it you will see it's actually a ruler. Some combs might not have this, but if you want.
oh, but you could make like a little Sharpie mark on your
That's
comb.
true, you can do that. So you can do that. Lift it up to the right length, 1 or 2 or whatever, and then in this case it's about 1, and then make your cut. And then usually from there you can kind of feel where that is. And again, I'm kind of breaking the rules. You shouldn't cut past this point. I'm cutting past this point because I know I've done it forever. But you want to only cut to, just reiterating so you don't cut yourself. Cut to there, and then even if you have more hair in your hand, then you can go get the rest and do it again. And I will do that. And then you can kind of look at it and say, okay, is that short enough? Definitely not back here. I need to go back through here and cut some of this off. Depending on the texture of your kid's hair, mistakes and things that are longer will be either more or less noticeable. If someone's got finer, straighter hair, it's going to be a lot more noticeable. If somebody's got curl in their hair, then it's going to be less noticeable. Connor's hair is pretty noticeable if there's something going on with it. And then I'll continue doing it like this all the way to the front. And you kind of just have to say, okay, is that long enough? Is it too long? One thing of note, as you know, people's heads are not square. They are
What?
round. So, his hairline down here, his head is shaped like this. So, well, okay. So down here, if you want it to be the same length, if it's like spiked up or something, then the front is gonna be a little bit longer, depending on how you do their hair. Now, what I also do after I've gotten the basic length figured out, is I will then,
Got a couple.
in this case, I know. In this case, I'm gonna spray it again just a little bit. I will kind of comb it up. And then I did it this direction. Now I'm gonna check it and do it this direction to check and see if there are any pieces that are much longer and to see if it's even this way. And then when I get to the front, I'll see this is quite a bit longer, even though like if you were to do it straight, it's about the same. I'm going to go over here and do it just a little bit shorter in the very front. Not too much, because then it'll look weird.
Yeah, but Connor's hair tends to just hang straight down into his face, so.
So we don't want it very right there. So we don't want his hair too long. We don't usually put product in his hair or anything to... Sometimes we do, but especially not lately, now that we're in quarantine. He's not going to preschool or anything like that. And then you can kind of check it and say, okay, is that short enough? It looks like it's about short enough. And then if there is a section that's like way too long, actually that's still a little bit long. So I'm gonna pick this up. But I'm still not gonna cut it like that. If there are a few pieces that you're like, oh, that's still too long there, you can grab it, or you can just grab that one little section and cut. Okay, doesn't want a couple of pieces, but I would just recommend you just pick it up from up here. Cut it a little bit more if it's still too long. But if it's still too long down there and you pick it up at the very front, and at this point I'm not picking it straight up, I'm kind of going at maybe a 45 away from his hair. But what you still want to do is you want to then pick this up and make sure that the hair behind the very front isn't, you want to make sure the hair back here isn't so much longer than the hair in the front. So I will then pick it up, cut a little bit more off right behind it. And in that respect, you could always do the front first. You can always do the front first to get the length that you want, and then work your way backwards. But I find that it's easier if it's already mostly the same length, the right length, before I start making final adjustments. Okay, so this top area is a little bit long still. Okay, technically that could be enough to cut their hair. But the other way to do it is to also utilize the clippers. Yeah, I know there's a little extra still there. That you could get with the shears you need to. Erica's talking about a few little hairs right here. I just kind of comb it down, and then I hold the ear out of the way, and then carefully go through and cut. But it's safer to use the clippers because this is a lot less likely to cut them. Now, the easiest way to cut someone's hair in this situation is to just grab clippers and a long guard. This is the number 4, and do the whole thing. That'd be the easiest thing to do. It's all one length, and you don't have to worry about all that cutting and all that stuff. But if you don't have access to that, then obviously you can't do that. So if you want their hair shorter on the sides and the back than what your hand can do with just your fingers, then you would want to use clippers on for that as well. So we're gonna have Connor look down just a little bit. Connor, I'm gonna turn on the clippers, okay? Okay. And this one's not quite long enough. Or short enough. I'm gonna do number 3. A little bit more. There we go. And you're gonna start from underneath. I need you to look down just a little bit. There you go. Go up. And you're gonna come up to about halfway up. You don't want to. I mean, you can go higher if you want to do a higher fade or something. So one thing you'll have to do is you'll have to come up, and I'm not going to do this while it's off, but you come up. You might have to do it in a couple different directions to make sure you're getting all the hairs, because sometimes they will lay in different ways. So I'll come up this way, and that way, and this way to make sure that everything is being picked up. And then over here on the side, I will move Connor's ear out of the way and kind of come this direction, and then hold it this way a little bit and come this direction. Up. Look straight ahead. And then you'll notice a couple of things. One, you can just come with this clipper, look straight ahead, and go around. Nope, tilt your head this way, please. Keep it there. And move his ear out of the way. And just cut over. And then with his ear in place, I'll do this part right here. Hopefully they don't move very much. And then down here, I will kind of square it off a little bit. And that's also going to depend on their hairline and stuff. Now what you'll notice, once you've done that with the guard, is that his hair over here is not blended. Now all of a sudden there's kind of a step. So there's a few different ways to do that, to fix that. One, you can grab it again with your fingers and try and cut it that way, a little shorter to make it blend. Or you can use the clipper over comb method, which is to hold up, yeah, you might want to come here, is to hold up the hair like this, to where you you kind of start where you've already cut it, and then you get to the point where it's longer, and you cut that off. And then it kind of blends it. And you can start really far away and then work your way a little closer and a little higher. This is one of the parts that you can make the mistake the easiest, and that is if you have the comb up and you have it too close. If you have the comb too close to them, it's easier to make... Connor, stop moving around, please. Oh, you got your legs there? Okay. It's easier to accidentally put a divot in that area if you're doing it like this. So be mindful of picking the hair up and moving it away from the scalp. This is also why a lot of people just take the clippers and just put a guard on it and do the whole hair the same way. Because this can be... Connor, don't move. Right there. Stay right there.
Connor, what are the Octonauts doing?
He's not paying attention
Nope.
to you.
He is in the zone.
And then, just so that I'm a little more perfect, I will go through and just check these edges again, where I'm blending it down like this. I want to make sure that these areas, because this area kind of just feels a little too long still right there for me. And I could leave it that way, but particularly back here. I don't know if you can see, but up here it's shorter and here it's longer still. So those are the kind of things that I look for when I lift up the hair. Or if there's a point somewhere. There really isn't one right here, so I can't really show you. It kind of, I don't know, can you see that at all?
Yeah.
There's a little point there. Sometimes they're a lot more prevalent than other times. And Connor's hair is cut.
All right.
And then you can do the same thing again on the top. You can lift it up if you want to double check it and look for points and just snip them off. Some people do it on purpose. They'll cut hair like this and create texture, but I mean, whatever. Little kid's haircut. So, and then if there are other pieces that are just long that you want to snip off around the edges or something, and do that. In this case, there's like this little piece down here that's still kind of longer. Just because the way Connor's hair grows, it moves that way. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you got some good information out of it, and if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Hopefully I can answer them for you. And Connor, do you like your haircut?
Yeah.
Awesome.